What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 63. We have Calvin Kattar going against Arnold Allen.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for another DraftKings prediction video this week, breaking down UFC Vegas 63. We have a 11 fight card. We were supposed to have 9 fights, but luckily they did find new opponents for both Cody Durden and Christian Rodriguez. And I have a very big interest in one of those guys that we'll talk about. But yeah, should be a fun card overall. I think it's a really good card for DraftKings. There aren't too many fights where I really want to fade them. I think a lot of these fights are in play. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Before we get started, guys, if you guys can please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. That'd be much appreciated. If you do want more content behind the scenes, optimizer, targets, rankings, projections, all that good stuff, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Lots of stuff going on there as well. And I do want to shout out the winner for the contest. Last week we had the DraftKings point contest for Charles Oliveira, and shout out to Heather for getting it done. She commented 11 DraftKings points, and the correct answer was like 10.06. So Heather got it. Congrats, Heather. Good job. I'll be doing more contests in the very near future. All right, guys. I say we get into it, and as always, we're going to start with the fight doesn't go to decision lines here. We have 4. The first one is Waldo Cortez Acosta going against Jared Vanderaa, minus 210. Fight doesn't go to decision. And I could actually see a world where this does go to a decision, but I do think it more than often than not, it does finish here. Acosta is definitely a guy I'm looking at. I mean, really both guys in this fight I think are in play. You have Waldo Cortez Acosta, Dana White's Contender Series guy, 9,000 here. He has good volume, good power. Jared Vanderaa is a walking punching bag with a 43% strike and defense. I definitely think it's live for Waldo to go out there and knock out Jared Vanderaa. On the flip side, Jared Vanderaa at 7,200. He's on a 4-fight skid, but I mean, he has a path to victory here. That path to victory is going to be getting this fight down to the mat. When Jared Vanderaa is on top, he's very dangerous. He's a black belt in BJJ, but it's his grounded pound that is very impressive. And Acosta can be taken down super easily. It just comes down to the fight IQ of Jared Vanderaa. I personally don't think he's going to wrestle, but if he does, 7,200 could look like a steal. So I think this is a good fight to play both sides. I think the most likely scenario is Acosta getting that knockout, but if Vanderaa wrestles, the path is there, absolutely. We have Chase Hooper going against Steve Garcia here, and I like Hooper a lot. I'm not really going to touch much Steve Garcia. Chase Hooper has so much upside. I think he scored like 140-something in his last fight against Felipe Colares, and that really impressed me because Colares, I don't think he's the best fighter in the world, but what Colares is known for is that toughness, that next level toughness, and the way Hooper just went out there and just put a pace on him, eventually finished him. The ref had to step in. I mean, that was super impressive to me. When you think of Steve Garcia, you don't think of toughness at all. I mean, the guy's getting dropped left and right, got knocked out in his last fight, got knocked down twice by Charlie Ontiveros. I mean, Chase Hooper, if he's able to get this fight down to the mat, I think he's super live for the sub. I think he's super live for the TKO. So Chase Hooper is a guy that is super live to go out there and put up another big score against Steve Garcia. So I'm more so on the Hooper side on this one. Won't be playing much Garcia. But yeah, I do like Hooper to get it done. This is a good fight here. I think it's another good one to target. You have Dustin Jacoby, 8,300, Roundtree, 7,900. And I see this playing out one of two ways, and I think both ways are going to score very well, especially at these price tags. Dustin Jacoby, very high volume striker, landing 5.27 significant strikes per minute. I think he will be the minute winner in this fight. I think he will be able to go out there and outland Khalil Roundtree, potentially even get a knockout. Jacoby has some solid power. I mean, going out there and knocking out Da Un Jung in the first round was really impressive. So I think Jacoby's live to go out there and either A, win a decision, or B, maybe even get a knockout. I mean, the power is definitely there, and Roundtree has been finished quite a few times. On the flip side, I think Roundtree, if he wins, I think Roundtree goes out there and gets a knockout. I don't really see it playing out any other way. Roundtree is a guy that hits like an absolute truck, and when Roundtree shows up and he's on, the guy is just a terrifying fighter to go against. So I think both sides, again, are in play here. It's hard to trust a guy like Roundtree, but if he shows up, he's motivated, and he looks good, like he looked in the Anders fight, like he looked in the Bukauskas fight, like he looked in the Roberson fight. He could knock out Dustin Jacoby. Jacoby has been knocked out before. He's been knocked out a couple times in kickboxing as well. And again, Roundtree hits like a truck. So another fight where I do think both sides are most definitely in play at these salaries. And then we have Christian Rodriguez here going against Joshua Weems. I'm not going to be touching Weems in this fight. I do like Rodriguez at 9,400. He is the most expensive fighter on the card. He is now a minus 400 favorite, and I do expect that to keep getting wider and wider, honestly. Christian Rodriguez is a terrible matchup for Joshua Weems in general, but an even more terrible matchup on short notice. Joshua Weems, I mean, the guy got knocked out by Fernie Garcia on the Contender Series, and that was Fernie Garcia's only knockout win ever, which is a big red flag to me. Weems has been knocked out in both of his losses. He's a submission specialist who is not the best wrestler. I think this is a nightmare matchup for one Joshua Weems, and I think Christian Rodriguez is going to finish him in the first or second round. I think Weems is going to be forced to stand with Rodriguez, and that just seems like a recipe for disaster. So I'm very heavy on Rodriguez this week, and he's going to be probably my highest exposed fighter on the entire slate. Let's go to our core plays here. Chase Hooper, it's the upside for me. I think this guy has a ton of upside. I think he's starting to finally put it together. He's been working on that striking, working on that wrestling. And if this fight hits the mat, it's his world. Black belt and BJJ, phenomenal ground and pound. I mean, it doesn't look like it. You see him right there, but this guy has some vicious ground and pound. I mean, I remember in his debut, went out there, got a first round TKO. We saw against Felipe Calores, like, he has some very, very good ground and pound. So I think the ground and pound's live. I think the sub's live. I think the finish is live. I like Chase Hooper to go out there and probably get that finish and put up a big score. So next we have Josh Fremd, 8,700. And a lot of money's been coming in on Tresean Gore this week. And Fremd is now like minus 145, something like that, on the money line, which is interesting. So maybe his ownership's going to go down a little bit. But man, Tresean Gore just can't really seem to put it together. Tresean Gore only 5 fights total. He's 0-2 in the UFC. Has not looked good. And Cody Brundage is a good fighter, but he's more so like a wrestler, like a grinder. I mean, Cody Brundage went out there and knocked out Tresean Gore in the first round. Josh Fremd has legit power. I mean, this guy hurts people, and he hurts people bad. I went back and watched some of these fights from Josh Fremd, and he's going out there and putting guys to sleep, and they're not waking up for several minutes. I mean, this guy's scary with his power, and Fremd has a submission game as well. I mean, very well-rounded. He's huge, going to have a big height advantage. And again, Tresean Gore, if you're getting knocked out by Cody Brundage, why can't Fremd go out there and knock out Gore as well? So yeah, I do like Fremd a lot. I think he has a lot of high upside. I think maybe some sneaky wrestling upside, but that power of Fremd really stuck out to me. Calvin Kattar, 8,000. Probably going to be the unpopular play this week. Arnold Allen has a lot of hype on him. It kind of reminds me last week of the Sean Brady Bilal Muhammad fight, and which is funny because it's the same exact salaries here, where we had Sean Brady 8,200 and Bilal Muhammad 8,000. I didn't have much Bilal Muhammad, sadly. I did not expect him to do that, but Calvin Kattar, I think this guy's getting super underrated here. This is a guy that we know we're going to get with Calvin Kattar. We're going to get a ton of volume. We're going to get a ton of power. We're going to get that experience, that level of competition, the 5-round experience, most importantly. He's been to the 5th round and to a decision in his last 4 fights, and all 4 of those fights were 5 rounds, where there's still some unknowns on Arnold Allen. What does Allen look like in the 4th round? We don't know. What does he look like in the 5th round? We don't know. I've seen him slow down in the 3rd round bad against Sadiq Youssef. I don't know if Allen's going to be able to compete in terms of the volume of Calvin Kattar. And I think for Allen to win this fight, he's going to have to do something nobody's been able to do yet, and that's going to be A, knock down Kattar, or B, knock him out. And like I said, it's never happened before. So I do like Kattar. Again, probably the unpopular pick of the week, but it's just so hard to ignore this guy's upside at 8,000. But I will have some Arnold Allen. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the video. And then Christian Rodriguez, don't need to spend much time on this. Like I said, terrible match for Joshua Weems. Christian Rodriguez should be able to keep this standing, keep it upright, and knock out Joshua Weems probably in the 1st or 2nd round. He's going to go out there, set a pace that Weems is not going to be able to keep up, and I just don't think Weems has much in terms of the striking for Rodriguez. If you're getting knocked out by Fernie Garcia, something's wrong. And Rodriguez is a very dangerous fighter, finished all but one of his wins. So I like Rodriguez a lot. 9,400. I will be paying for him this week. GPP plays, tournament plays, and yeah, there's actually a couple others we can mention in here as well, but these are kind of the 4 that stuck out the most. Waldo Cortez Acosta, 9,000, heavyweight fight, going against a walking punching bag in Jared Vanderaa, who blocks punches with his face. very live to knock out Jared Vanderaa. He has a lot of volume, a lot of power, good cardio. I don't mind some Acosta at 9,000. Marcos Rogério de Lima, 8,900. Speaking of power, this guy has it. What really impressed me with de Lima was going out there and knocking out Ben Rothwell. And I know Ben Rothwell was like 38, 39, but Ben Rothwell had not been knocked out since like 2009, and de Lima kind of ran right through him. He's going against Arlovsky here, who is 43 years old. I think he's the oldest fighter on the roster. Arlovsky is a guy that has been finished 13 times, 11 by knockout, and he hasn't been really finished lately, but he's not fighting guys that hit hard. He's fighting guys like Jared Vanderaa, fighting guys like Jake Collier. I don't think these guys have really good heavyweight power, whereas de Lima, the guy hits like a truck. So I like de Lima to go out there and potentially finish Arlovsky in the first round. Arnold Allen, 8,200. Only because it's a 5-round fight here. I really worry about the upside with Arnold Allen, though. Like, you take a look at his fights, there's really only been one fight on DraftKings where he's scored well, and it was his last fight against Stan Hooker, and I do think he's going to be pretty highly owned. So I kind of worry about it a little bit, but I think Allen's path to victory here is going to be a couple knockdowns, a knockout, and although I don't think it's too likely, you never know, because Kattar is hittable, and Arnold Allen does hit very hard. I will have some Allen, more so on the Kattar side for me, but just the 5-round aspect of things makes me want to have some Allen in my lineups. And then Carlos Mata, 8,500 going against Cody Durden. Mata's dangerous. He's finished about half his wins by knockout. He's a black belt in BJJ, and Durden has been submitted 3 times. I think Durden's been knocked out as well. I think Durden's been finished in all 4 of his losses. So it's safe to say if Mata does win this fight, there is a good chance it's inside the distance. I like his striking. I like his takedown defense. I like his get-up game. I like how well-rounded he is. And I think this is going to be a very fun fight. Mata's coming in on short notice, but Durden's kind of coming in on short notice in his own right. So don't mind some Mata at 8,500. Another guy I think has some upside. Some guys I did not mention. I didn't mention Phil Hawes. I think Phil Hawes has some serious upside in this matchup against Roman Dolidze. And I didn't mention Dustin Jacoby at 8,300. I think both those guys have some solid upside. So I will be targeting a lot of these fights this week. Live dogs here, Khalil Roundtree, 7,900. The dude's dangerous. The dude's powerful, finishing all but one of his wins, I believe, in the UFC. And the one he didn't finish was against Eric Anders, where it was like one of the worst beatings you'll ever watch. Like, he knocked him down 4 times. Like, Khalil Roundtree, when he's on, and he's dangerous. And again, Jacoby has been knocked out a few times. So I don't mind some Khalil Roundtree at 7,900. Roman Dolidze, 7,800. This guy's a live dog. Just because Phil Hawes has dropped the ball a lot. Phil Hawes, I think he's a phenomenal fighter, but one thing we worried about with Phil Hawes is the chin. The guy's been finished in all 3 of his losses. He's been hurt a lot. He's a guy that's going to be looking good up until he gets caught. And Dolidze, he doesn't throw a ton on the feet, and that's why he's a dog here. But when Dolidze does land, he lands very, very hard. I think if Dolidze wins, it's by knockout, and for that reason, I will be targeting some Dolidze. Jared Vanderaa, 7,200. As simple as this. If Jared Vanderaa fights smart, and I know it's hard, it's very hard to believe that Jared Vanderaa will go out here and fight smart. He shot 0 takedowns against Chase Sherman. That's inexcusable. But if he goes out there and gets his fight down to the mat, like it's a winnable fight for him. The guy, he's good. He's good when he gets on top. His ground and pound is very good. He has that black belt in his back pocket, and Acosta does get taken down super easily. Jared Vanderaa is on a 4-fight skid. He's fighting for his job. You would have to think he wrestles here, but again, trusting Jared Vanderaa is not the best thing in the world to do, but the path is there, and for that reason, I will sprinkle some Jared Vanderaa. I'm not going to go crazy on it like a lot of people seem to be this week, but I think the path is there, and at 7,200 for a heavyweight fight, I will have some. And then Tresean Gore, kind of a low dart throw for me on this one. I don't think anybody's going to play Gore. But the reason I'm not betting Josh Fremd in this matchup, and I am picking Fremd, and I was close to betting Fremd, but the reason I'm not betting Fremd is because one thing that really sticks out is his striking defense scares the crap out of me. Very questionable striking defense, hands down at times, shin up in the air. And Tresean Gore, it is not really translated in the UFC yet, although he did hurt Battle a couple times. Tresean Gore hits hard, so nobody's going to play him at all, and I get it. He's looked like crap, but he hits hard, and Fremd is hittable. I think somebody is getting finished in this matchup. I do lean Fremd, but I think Gore's going to be super low, and I will have some Tresean Gore this week. Pump plays, Joseph Holmes. 6,900. The reason being is, first of all, I'm not playing Jung Young Park at 9,300. That's a very hefty price tag for Park there, a guy that's not finished anybody in the UFC yet, including John Phillips, which is not good. But Joseph Holmes, 6,900. The guy has the best finish rate on the entire card, and that finish rate is 100%. He's finished all of his wins. So have to take a look at Holmes here at 6,900. Park has been finished a few times. Park's been knocked out. Park's been subbed. Holmes has some power. Holmes has some submission ability. And again, I'm not touching Park at the price tag, so it's a dog or pass, and I think Holmes is definitely in play as a punt. And then fades here. I mean, this is about as easy of a fade of the year. I think Chukagan was up there with a very easy fade, but this has to be potentially even an easier fade here with Andrei Arlovsky, just because, like, in a win, you take a look at his last couple wins, like he's putting up like 50 points, like it's terrible. He has no wrestling upside, absolutely none. He has very little finishing upside. The guy has not finished anybody in the last 6-7 years. It's been a while. An Andrei Arlovsky win is going to score very low. There's just no upside here. It's an easy fade for me. Although it is a heavyweight fight, although DeLima has been finished a ton, I just can't really get there with Andrei Arlovsky this week. All right, guys, we did it. We went through everything. I like this card. I like this card from a DraftKings perspective. I think it's going to be fun. So definitely looking forward to it, guys. If you guys enjoy the content, leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Check out dfsbythenumbers.com. You got the fighter stats, targets, projections, ownership projections, optimizer, the rankings. You got the article coming out as well. Just lots of stuff on dfsbythenumbers.com, so be sure to check it out. And we will talk to you guys very soon. Good luck for UFC Vegas 63. See you.